at last opens with Skarloey finally making it back home and being introduced to Rusty. Rusty tells him that he's basically just been filling in his shoes while he's been away, and so Rusty takes him back to the sheds to see Peter Sam. At the sheds, Peter Sam still has a broken funnel from the events of the previous episode. Even though he wants to go back out and work, Sir Topham Hatt insists that he stays in the shed to rest.
Hey man, I thought you were supposed to be a soulless dictator. What the hell's going on?
However, he does tell Peter Sam that he's got a surprise for him, and that surprise ends up being Skarloey. After catching up for a bit, Peter Sam notices that Skarloey got to meet Rusty, but asks if he's gotten to meet Duncan yet. Skarloey says no, and then tells him that Duncan is a bit of an asshole, mainly because he constantly tries to rock and roll whenever he's on the track. Skarloey then gets word that Duncan is in fact stuck in a tunnel, which seems to be a very common trend for this show. He makes it to the tunnel, and we finally get a good taste of what Duncan's character is truly like. George Carlin doing a third Scottish accent.
I'm a plain, blunt engine. I speak as I find. Tunnels should be tunnels and not rabbit holes. This railway is no good at all.
The workmen all tell Duncan to just shut the fuck up, because he's the reason he's in there to begin with. Regardless, they reluctantly try to get Duncan out of the tunnel, and lo and behold, they succeed. Duncan and Skarloey make their way back to the shed, where Sir Topham Hatt threatens to use Duncan's funnel as a dildo. The next episode features Skarloey just going along his line for a solid 30 seconds of the episode before eventually meeting up with Rusty. Skarloey congratulates Rusty on mending the track so well that he could barely tell where he even is. Afterwards, the two find themselves at a station where they run into Duncan, who is being a general douchebag. And then Duncan leaves. Duncan then grabs his objectively really ugly coaches and then makes his way off to a station where he meets James for the very first time. James is unaware of how much of an asshole Duncan usually is. Duncan continues to do his job until he enters a really rough track. His driver warns him not to keep rocking and rolling, but Duncan ignores his demands and ends up falling off the track. You know, I've noticed that a lot of these engines tend to fall off the track in the exact same way. Regardless, Skarloey and Rusty have to go save Duncan, not really caring much about getting Duncan safe, but rather the passengers, because again, they don't really like Duncan very much. Rusty manages to get the passengers safely sound, and Duncan gets back on the rails. Duncan apologizes to Rusty, and the two are now good friends. These episodes were a pretty decent introduction to Duncan, not to mention having Skarloey finally meet Rusty, and, you know, I like these ones quite a bit. I'm going to bed. I'm very tired.